Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week we are back on the Frankenhauler tackling that rust. Alright guys, if any of you are anything like me, getting a fitness routine is really difficult these days, and it's very hard to find time to get to the gym and just work with busy schedules. And that's why when Copilot Fitness reached out to me, I was really very interested, because their whole concept is they've set me up with a personal trainer to make a custom fitness routine just for me that works with my schedule. So Copilot Fitness is a tailored fitness solution. So when you sign up, you'll ask you a bunch of questions about what sort of goals you have, whether it's weight loss or strength or flexibility or working around an injury or whatever. The next step is they will set you up one-on-one with a trainer. And in my case, it was Katie. I sat down and talked to her about what my goals were and my abilities are, and the apparatus that I have available, which is pretty much nothing except some free weights. She also asked things like how long I would like the workouts, what days of the week would work best, how frequently, etc. She then went away and set up my personalized workouts in the Copilot app. And I've found the app is really great. So with each exercise, it comes up with the timer telling you how long to work for, how long to rest for, and most helpfully is a video demonstration of each exercise. So once I finish the workout, I can then submit how I found it, whether it was too hard or too easy, whether I like some exercises or others, and then that goes back to Katie, who then will alter the workout to suit. The other thing I like is the personal interaction I actually have with Katie. So she'll keep me honest. If I miss a training, I'll get a message asking how I'm doing, and there's that continual interaction the whole time, refining and tweaking the workouts to just get the most out of it. Alright guys, and if you use the QR code that's on the screen, you can head over to Copilot Fitness and you get a 14-day trial with your own personal trainer free. So hopefully you guys can get something out of it. I know I have. I'm going to be continuing to use it, and I hope you guys can get something out of it too. All right, guys, welcome back. And if you were watching last week, you will have seen that I started repairing this front left corner of the Frankenhauler and getting stuck into that rust. If you missed it, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up. And like always, please think about subscribing and commenting and all that sort of stuff. It does help out that mysterious algorithm. Now, last week, as I said, there were lots of panels in this corner that were all rusted out. It was all rusted out all in this corner with multiple layers all on top of each other, and I had to sort of unpick it, work out what's going on, and then build it back up again. Now I have a bit of a plan. Hopefully the other side should be a bit simpler, just because I already know what I'm doing. But for the time being, we had to get stuck back into this corner and finish it off. So let me bring you in and show you where we left off. All right, so if this doesn't make sense, if you didn't see last week, the cab is lying on its back. So this is the door frame, just here. This is the front of the cab facing this way, and I replaced the foot panel here and the floor, and also replaced this sill and just repaired that. And the next thing I started tackling was the bottom of the door jamb here, which I hammer formed my shape, but I've still got more to do because I've still got a hinge bucket to go in there. I also have the body mount, which goes in behind here. That needs to be tidied up and reconnected. And then, of course, I've got the external rust repair panel that, at least for the external shape, is sort of pre-made, that I need to just massage to get to fit on, but this will be the last piece. So where we left off was my hammer formed lower leg of the door jamb, which, like I mentioned, goes there. I'm very happy with the shape, the fitment, that's all good, but it needs to be able to house a hinge. So I need to start making my hinge bucket and show you how I put that into this. So here you can see I'm starting to mock up a template of the base of the hinge. Then I transfer that over to some old floorboards I had lying around and cut it to shape. And for the hammer form I want 2 identical wooden bucks. Then I screw them together and just sand all the edges and make it all nice and neat and tidy. Alright, so I made up another couple of hammer forms. So these are the shape of the hinges. So this will be the right shape to make the recess for the hinges. So now it's time to cut out some sheets and clamp them in here and start hammer forming up some hinge buckets. And screw it in between the 2 hammer forms and very, very softly and gently work my way around, hammering around the edges. And this one you can see that I went a little bit too fast and I got buckles all around the edge, so I had to start again. So you can see here how slow and lightly I'm tapping that metal around and just work my way around very, very slowly. It takes a little bit of time and I'm not using very much force with the hammer at all because I want to give the metal sort of time to actually shrink into shape and being very deliberate where I concentrate my hammer blows. Alright, my first attempt didn't work that well. I tried to go too quickly and you can see that I've got these little folds, schmuckles as I like to call it. You guys seem to like that. Yeah, so they're just going too fast. You really have to take your time. So when I went round the second time, you can see that it's got a much cleaner edge. And that is just really, particularly on these tighter corners, you really got to take your time tapping it over all the way around because you're trying to shrink that metal. As it's going over the edge, it needs to come together to go down at that position, and you're just, as soon as it starts, it will want to try and buckle like it's done here, and you need to sort of as soon as it starts to buckle on one spot, you need to move to another spot and just keep it very lightly, tapping it over until you can get it over. And in the end, I have a beautiful hinge bucket. That is exactly what I'm looking for. So now I need to look at how I'm going to graft it onto this. So first I start by trimming the lower piece I made to fit. Then also trim back the hinge bucket to get the alignment correct. Alright, so I've taken my hinge bucket and I've bolted it onto the original hinge bolt location. I deliberately kept that top hinge bolt location so I've got the correct location of both hinges for where the door goes to keep everything lined up. And by bolting it on, I've trimmed out sort of part of the side, but I still have this sort of wobbly base on it. So let's take it off now and I'll show you how I mark it all at one nice even level so that we can trim it to get it nice and flat and level. So you can see I use my Sharpie here at a fixed height to mark out a nice level trim line. Once I've trimmed it to fit, I can then mark out the recess I need to cut into the lower door jamb panel. And then I tack them together with the TIG. Because I actually want to grind back the face, I wanted a lot of excess weld behind, so I decided to switch to the MIG to join it in, just to give myself some meat in the back. Alright, so I'm using the original hinge. It's rusty and old, but the location is correct. So I've got that bolted in there. This obviously is just loose at the moment, just being held in by the bolts, but it gives me an idea of location. So the next thing I need to do is try and make sure everything's lining up properly by starting to get this panel lined up properly. So you can see that the sill panel, I need to actually taper the end of it, so I'm just trimming it by hand, making sure everything's perfect to fit the rust repair panel. Then I tack it together with the MIG just to confirm everything's in the right spot. And then also I start lining up and actually welding in my lower door jamb panel. Alright, I have my pieces all tacked in and prepped together, and now it's sort of getting closer to fitting my lower rust repair panel. But there's still a bit more to do in underneath here. So the next thing I need to do is, this is the hinge, and the hinge is held in by 3 bolts, 2 there and 1 here. And there is actually a reinforcing plate originally that goes in behind the hinge buckets. I can show you over on this side, and you can sort of see it in there. You can see that the reinforcing plate goes over the top and has 3 bolt holes for the hinge, and then also ties into underneath the this side panel as well. So that's the next thing that I need to make up. Is I'm going to fold up a bit of a cardboard template, and then see if I can make up my hinge bucket for the back. So I start with a bit of CAD, cardboard aid design, to get the basic shape. I transfer it onto some 2mm steel plate and then bend it to shape. I mark out and drill the holes I need to match in with the hinge, and then do the final welding on the back of the panel. And I also make sure I spray everything with some weld-through primer so that it's protected on the back side. Alright, so I spent a bit of time and I made the hinge brace. So this actually braces the hinge. I've got the old hinge here. This is one of the other hinges that will fit into the bucket, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt it on. Alright, so I've got the hinge bucket all bolted in now, and the hinge is exactly where I want it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go around and I'm going to weld in the hinge bucket, but I'm also going to weld the nuts in, as captive nuts. So these are metric M10 nuts. I'm going to change over all of the hinges to being the metric M10 nut, so it's consistent throughout the whole truck. Because the bus is all metric, I'm going to make sure that everything is all metric. And I don't have Imperial tools. I don't want to have it in Imperial, and you definitely don't want half and half. So all metric it's going to be. So let's weld it in. You can see that I put a bit of masking tape on the exposed threads of the bolts because the spatter from the MIG can often foul up those, and then you wreck your nuts and bolts. All right, the next thing I need to do is there's a panel that goes in here that's a brace, sort of like a triangular brace. So here's the one on the driver's side. So that's it. It goes behind the foot that is the body mount. So I need to sort of make up some form of that brace right there. So this is a slightly more complicated panel, and I did actually mess it up and had to do it twice. But I've marked out my shape and cut it to size. Then I drill out the center and trim it out. So I've got a proper tipping die on its way, but for now this is just what I'm using on the bead roller, and then hammer form the rest by hand just to get the nice shape that I'm after. Then I mark out the next bead roll I need to put into it, and just go backwards and forwards on my bead roller to get that shape. Alright, that was a bit of playing around, but I am very happy with that. That's got all of the reinforcing basically exactly like the original piece. This will fit into the exact same spot where it came out before, so I can weld that in and move on to, I think, the final stages, which is starting to get this panel ready to go back on. Okay, so I am really happy with how that turned out. That's all looking really nice and neat and tidy. From the inside, there's the original, and there is my version, and I am very happy with the result of that. I think that's definitely going to do the job for a panel that's never going to be seen. So the next thing I want to do, before I actually close this all in, while I have light and access, I want to get onto the back of this. This is the top hinge bucket, and this has currently got the Imperial threads in it. So what I want to do is I want to get in there and I want to drill them out. It's going to be too hard to actually cut them off without hacking into the whole truck. So I'm going to just drill them out and then weld metric captive nuts onto the top so that I have a fully metric cab. So now it's time to much more accurately trim my rust repair panel, marking and trimming as I go, making sure everything's lined up nicely. As you can see, it's a lot of back and forth to get it just right. And internally, I'm now making the internal reinforcement piece with a bit of CAD, again out of my 2mm steel plate. And a bit of hand forming to get it to fit the contour. Drill out the holes and then I can tack it into place. All right, I've got my repair panel mostly ready to go, but what I need to do before I finish is this actually originally has a reinforcing plate that sits behind to sort of reinforce where the front guard bolt's on. So that's what I've done here. I've made it out of slightly thicker stuff than the original. This is 2mm sheet steel. I just wanted something extra strong, and that way I don't have to try and turn a lip on it. So I'm going to tack it onto the back. Once it's finally in place, it'll actually just be held together by the bolts that hold the front guard on. But for the time being, I'm going to tack this into this patch panel, and then we can look at mounting it onto the cab for once and for all.
So with the reinforcing tacked in place, I do my final fit up. And I start working my way around the edges and tacking it in with the MIG. The shape of the rust repair panel wasn't quite right, so I've had to use the hammer and dolly to get that crease in the right place. Then I grind back all of the MIG welds and then TIG the join together just to get it just the way I want it.
All right, it's not pretty, but that is all done. So I TIG welded the panel on, and everything is all on now, lined up, internally reinforced. The whole thing is looking good. The only thing I've got left is I still have to put on this, which is actually the cab mount. It goes on here. All right, and we are done. So we have the cab mount back on, and the whole corner is all on and repaired. So we now have 1, 2, 3 good corners on the cab. There's just one more to go on that side. We are getting very close to the pointy end on this, but I am out of time for this week, so I think that means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, last week we talked about the two 18.9 litre race cars that Henry Ford built before selling his part to start the Ford Motor Company. The red car, as you remember, was named 999, and it went on to tour America, scoring many victories in its numerous races. The yellow car was named Arrow because it resembled a sleek arrow slicing through the air. In September of 1903, Arrow was taking part in a race when it crashed and it killed its driver, Frank Day. So Henry Ford bought the wreckage of Arrow, and as the red one, the 999, had been retired, Henry Ford decided to change Arrow's luck by having it repainted in red and renaming it. It now became the new 999. On the morning of January the 12th, 1904, Henry Ford went out to set a new land speed record. Although it wasn't actually on land, it was on the frozen Lake St. Clair. Ford hit the throttle and the 80 horsepower engine pushed the 999 to a new record covering 1 mile in 39.4 seconds at 91.37 miles per hour. The feat was historic and it garnered lots of publicity for the new Ford Motor Company, despite the record being broken only 15 days later by William K. Vanderbilt in a 90 horsepower Mercedes.
All right, the Frankenhauler is really coming along. We've got one side completely sorted, and next week hopefully we will be able to tackle the other side. I've still got bits and pieces coming for the Ferrari update when all that stuff arrives, and I've got enough to put an episode together. But yes,
Well, look at this cool one from Christian Hefner in Berlin. Thank you very much.
Yes, so a German plate, or Deutschland. This is awesome. This will go up. It'll match quite nicely with the custom English plate I've got. It's good to see some European plates coming in there, and the collection is looking really good. People keep asking me about the address. If you do want to send the plates in, it's in the description, I should say, of every video. If you're interested in sort of contributing, it's really nice to see stuff from all over the world from where you guys are. And a quick thing, also remember to check out Copilot Fitness. The link will be in the description, so check that out as well.
Shows Jeff and a selection of our pets doing exercises with you.
Yeah. All right, guys. As always.
Yeah, like, subscribe, and Patreon, very appreciated. And I think that's everything. It's starting to get cold over here, so if you're not in Australia or the Southern Hemisphere, lucky you.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Bye, guys.
See you next time.
Race cars that Henry Ford built on the morning of January the 4th. On the morning of January the 4th. No, on the morning of January the 12th. Ford hit the engine. No, he hit the... pushed the 999 to achieve